And I hope to see more of you when you're free of the spell of the elegant Mr. Wilkes.
You will not leave this town without me.
We'll leave without you, and you'll wait here and like it.
Strangely enough, Hollywood did not see the appeal of Clark Gable the first time he came through. And there's a few movies where they say you can see him as an extra, way back in the background.
Many folks don't know that rumors about Clark Gable's ancestry have been around for a long time. People have often wondered if the famous Hollywood actor had black heritage. Some say that his family background might include African-American roots. But is there any truth to these stories?
Clark Gable, one of the biggest stars that Hollywood ever produced, was actually a product of Cadiz, Ohio.
How did these rumors start, and why are they still being talked about today? Clark Gable was one of the biggest stars of his time, but could there be more to his story than people knew? Let's explore the truth about Clark Gable's possible black ancestry, and also looking at the early life of Clark Gable and the events that shaped him into the man he became.
Clark Gable, one of the biggest stars that Hollywood ever produced, was actually a product of Cadiz, Ohio.
Born in Cadiz, Ohio, in 1901, Gable's start in life was not easy. Right from the beginning, things were a bit messy. His birth certificate was confused because his doctor had bad handwriting. It listed his gender as both male and female. After 10 months, a sad event struck Gable's life. His mother passed away. This loss left him without the loving presence of a mother as he grew up. But life continued. And when Gable was just 2 years old, his father remarried. His stepmother, Jenny Dunlap, turned out to be a good influence on him. Jenny wasn't like the typical evil stepmother you might expect in stories. Instead, she helped shape Gable into the man he would become.
His father was an oil wildcatter, and he used to drag his son out into the fields, and they would work fitting pipe for oil rigs, and he'd get covered with dirt and grime and oil, and he hated that lifestyle.
Jenny made sure Gable went to school, dressed well, and looked presentable. She even introduced him to the arts, including Shakespeare, which sparked his love for literature. However, while Jenny focused on polishing Gable's mind and manners, his father was more interested in making him tough. His dad taught him how to hunt and work with his hands. But Gable's heart wasn't in these macho activities. He had other dreams. At just 17, Gable found his passion for acting.
By 17 years old, when he was finished with school, he started to seriously want to become an actor. He worked a long time as an actor on the road. Many of them went on the road. They were in stock companies, and they did this, they did everything. They built sets. He loved to do all the mechanics and build things.
But things weren't easy. His family was struggling with money, so chasing his acting dream seemed impossible. Things got even harder when, at 19, he lost his beloved stepmother, Jenny. Her death was another heavy blow. To make ends meet, Gable started working with his father in the oil fields, but he never let go of his acting dream. Eventually, Gable left the oil fields and moved to the Pacific Northwest. He did all kinds of odd jobs to survive, including working in lumber mills and traveling shows. It wasn't easy, but then, during one of these gigs, a co-worker encouraged him to give acting another try. This same co-worker also introduced him to an actress named Franz Dorfler. Gable and Franz started touring with a theater group. After some time, they settled in Portland, Oregon. Franz introduced Gable to an acting coach named Josephine Dillon. Josephine was 17 years older than Gable, but she believed in his talent. She helped him with his acting, teaching him how to control his voice and movements.
He was traveling with them, and he was in Portland, Oregon, and he met Josephine Dillon, who was a local woman, almost 20 years older than him, who was starting a business as an acting coach.
Josephine dedicated herself to grooming Gable for Hollywood. She believed he had what it took to be a star. Finally, she decided it was time to take him to Los Angeles to chase his dreams. She started a theater company there to give Gable a stepping stone into the film industry. Josephine gave Gable the tools he needed to succeed in Hollywood, but she didn't realize he would soon use those tools in ways she hadn't expected.
Mr. Gable, on behalf of the 20 million fans, I present to you this kingly crown.
From small roles to Hollywood star, Clark's first big opportunity came after his performance as Killer Mears in a Los Angeles stage play called The Last Mile. This role caught the attention of film studios, and Gable was offered a contract with Pathé Pictures. He played his first role in a sound film, The Painted Desert, as a rugged villain. Unfortunately, the studio faced financial issues, and Gable had to move on.
Strangely enough, Hollywood did not see the appeal of Clark Gable the first time he came through. And there's a few movies where they say you can see him as an extra, way back in the background.
In 1931, Gable got another chance when Warner Brothers cast him in Night Nurse. In this film, Gable played a mean chauffeur who knocks out Barbara Stanwyck's character to stop her from saving 2 children. Originally, this role was meant for James Cagney, but Cagney's success in The Public Enemy changed those plans. Gable's appearance in Night Nurse left a strong impression, despite his looks being mocked by Warner Brothers executive Darryl F. Zanuck. After a failed audition, MGM's Irving Thalberg saw something in Gable and signed him for $650 a week, a significant salary at the time. Gable's real rise to fame happened when MGM was looking to expand their male stars. He starred in The Secret Six with Wallace Beery in 1931, though Gable's role was bigger than his billing suggested. This led to him working with Beery again in Helldivers, where his name started appearing above the title on movie posters, a sign of rising stardom. One of Gable's major breakthroughs came when Joan Crawford, a popular actress, requested him to star alongside her in Dance Fools Dance. The chemistry between them was so powerful that MGM executives put them in several more films together. By the time he appeared in A Free Soul with Norma Shearer, Gable's reputation as a star was cemented. The film's success and his portrayal of a gangster pushed him further into the spotlight. Fans loved him, and soon he was receiving a ton of fan mail, a clear sign that people wanted to see more of him. Gable had a little trick up his sleeve. He got close to older, more experienced people in Hollywood who could help him move forward. Some stories even say that Gable had romantic relationships with both men and women to boost his career. He cozied up to stars like actor William Haynes and wealthy actress Pauline Frederick. His first engagement was to Franz Dorfler, the co-worker who introduced Gable to an acting coach named Josephine Dillon.
And she did this. She had his teeth changed and fixed. She trained his voice to be more of a low-pitched voice, and she trained his hair because he had these ears that stuck out.
Josephine was 17 years older than Gable, but she believed in his talent. Josephine wasn't just focused on Gable's career, she even paid for his expenses. Things got complicated, though, when Gable left his fiancée, Franz, for Josephine. Their relationship turned romantic, even though she was much older than him. She became his first wife.
And he ended up marrying her. And she supported him and got him jobs, and she actually took him to Hollywood in the early 20s, in 1924.
Gable and Dillon got married on December 13, 1924, in California. Unfortunately, this marriage did not last long, and they divorced in 1930. Even though his marriage ended, Gable didn't slow down. In fact, he became even more determined to succeed. Shortly after, he got his first film contract with Pathé Pictures. True to his pattern, Gable quickly found another wealthy older woman, Maria Langham, who was 17 years older than him. Just days after his divorce from Dillon, Gable married Maria. For a while, it seemed like Gable had settled down, but his wandering eye soon led him into more affairs. Soon after their wedding, Gable signed a film contract with Warner Brothers. But not everyone at the studio was impressed. One of Warner Brothers' VIPs, Darryl F. Zanuck, didn't think much of Gable. Zanuck even said that Gable looked like an ape and had ears that were too big. For a while, it seemed like Gable might face another period of struggle in Hollywood. However, things turned around when Gable got his big break in the movie Dance Fools Dance. His co-star was the legendary actress Joan Crawford. Interestingly, Crawford specifically asked for Gable to play her leading man. But there was a twist. Crawford had a rule against having romantic relationships with her co-stars. However, Gable's charm was too strong, and she ended up breaking her own rule. The two had an affair, even though they were both married at the time. Their chemistry on and off the screen was undeniable, and they went on to make 8 movies together. Despite the affair, the head of MGM Studios, Louis B. Mayer, wasn't pleased. He tried to stop Gable and Crawford from continuing their relationship, even threatening to fire them. But Gable, being the smooth talker he was, eventually moved on from Crawford. One of Gable's next love interests was Marion Davies, but their relationship didn't last long. Gable's wandering ways soon led him into the arms of other women. However, when he starred in No Man of Her Own opposite Carole Lombard, something was different. Lombard was aware of Gable's reputation, and to her surprise, he didn't try to make a move on her. Years later, Gable and Lombard met again at a glamorous ball. This time, Gable didn't hold back. He invited Lombard to his hotel room, but Lombard had a witty response. "Who do you think you are, Clark Gable?" Despite this sassy reply, their connection was undeniable, and it sparked a legendary romance.
They were two of the most beautiful people in Hollywood, and they were married, and they had this supposed idyllic life, so.
Gable's first two marriages were more about convenience and financial support. But after meeting Lombard, everything changed. He no longer needed anyone to support him, as his career had taken off after winning an Oscar. Even though he was still married to his second wife, Gable and Lombard didn't hide their affection for each other. After a long and costly divorce from his second wife, Gable married Lombard just 13 days later. They tied the knot in 1939 during a break from filming Gone with the Wind. The newlyweds quickly bought a ranch in California and built a happy life together. They lovingly called each other Ma and Pa and filled their ranch with chickens and horses. With Lombard by his side, Gable finally found the freedom to live a happy life. Sadly, the happiness didn't last long. In January 1942, Lombard was flying back to Los Angeles after a bond drive in Indiana when her plane crashed, killing everyone on board. Gable was devastated by the news. He rushed to the crash site, hoping to find her, but tragically, she had passed away. Gable was heartbroken, and though he continued with his career, he never fully recovered from losing Lombard. Gable tried to move on with his life and later started seeing actress Virginia Gray. The two spent a lot of time together, and rumors spread that Gable might marry her. But in a surprising twist, Gable married Lady Sylvia Ashley in 1949, shocking both Hollywood and Gray. Gable and Ashley's marriage didn't last long, though. Their relationship was full of problems, and they divorced not long after their first anniversary. Gable admitted to his friends that he must have been drunk when he proposed to her, hinting that it was a decision he quickly regretted.
And I hope to see more of you when you're free of the spell of the elegant Mr. Wilkes.
So let's talk about the rumors about Gable's black ancestry. Now, one of his biggest films, Gone with the Wind, became the third highest grossing movie of all time. On the set of this film, Gable made a special connection with one of his co-stars, Hattie McDaniel. After filming for Gone with the Wind wrapped up, producer David O. Selznick realized something huge. It wasn't just the grandeur of the film or the star-studded cast that was about to make waves. It was Hattie McDaniel's unforgettable portrayal of Mammy. She had stolen the show, outshining even the film's leads, Clark Gable and Vivien Leigh. While this should have been a good thing for Hattie, it soon turned into a bittersweet moment. But there was a huge problem: Georgia's strict segregation laws. The state didn't want any of the black actors from the movie attending the premiere. When Gable found out that Hattie wouldn't be allowed to attend her own premiere, he was furious and reportedly even considered boycotting the event in protest. But Hattie, not wanting to stir up more drama, convinced him to go without her. Clark Gable. Hattie and Gable were incredibly close, so much so that rumors started to swirl, with people speculating that there was something more than just friendship between them. But what was the real story behind their bond? While we may never know all the details, their friendship was evident even in their on-set antics, like the time Gable swapped out iced tea for real brandy while filming a scene and watched Hattie take a big sip, likely laughing together afterward. Their bond lasted a lifetime, transcending the racial barriers that divided so much of the industry at the time. Gable always supported her. Their friendship wasn't romantic. It was based on mutual respect and admiration. Some people believed Gable's support for McDaniel was because of his own background. There were rumors that Gable had Black and Native American heritage, though Hollywood studios tried to hide this fact. Whether this was true or not, Gable stood up for equality and treated McDaniel as a friend, not based on her race, but on who she was as a person.
You will not leave this town without me.
We'll leave without you, and you'll wait here and like it.
His rise to stardom wasn't smooth, and he faced many challenges along the way. While filming the movie Dancing Lady, Gable faced a major health issue. He got a bad gum infection called pyorrhea, which led to the removal of almost all his teeth. The pain was intense, and the recovery took time. Because of his dental problems, the filming of Dancing Lady faced big delays, costing the production over $150,000 more than expected. During this tough time, MGM Studios, where Gable worked, decided to loan him to another company, Columbia Pictures, for a low-budget comedy film called It Happened One Night. The movie, directed by Frank Capra, wasn't expected to be a big hit, but something unexpected happened. Gable's performance was so good that it made him a star. He won an Academy Award for Best Actor in 1934. This award put him in the spotlight. When he returned to MGM after his success, Gable became an even bigger star. You might think Gable's career would have been smooth, but a time came when MGM couldn't find the right roles for him anymore. This left Gable unhappy, and in 1954, after 23 years, he decided to leave MGM. This was a major change for him, and his career never quite reached the same heights again. Around that time, Gable started seeing Kay Williams, who had recently divorced. They decided to elope in Nevada, with only close friends and family attending. Gable seemed happy for a while, but their joy didn't last long. At one of Gable's movie premieres in 1955, Williams appeared to be pregnant. Sadly, she had a miscarriage soon after. Despite the pain, Gable stayed close to Williams's children from her previous marriages. But deep down, Gable wanted a child of his own. They kept trying, and in 1960, Williams became pregnant again. Unfortunately, their dreams of a happy family life would once again be shattered. During this time, Gable's career still wasn't improving. The movies he starred in didn't leave much of an impression. Then in 1960, Gable got the opportunity to star in a new movie, The Misfits, alongside Marilyn Monroe and Montgomery Clift. This movie became a classic, but filming it wasn't easy. The actors, including Gable, were put to the test. Filming took place in the hot desert, and Gable, despite his age, insisted on doing his own stunts. Monroe was dealing with personal struggles, including a painful divorce, while Clift had heart problems. There was even medical staff on set just for Monroe, but ironically, it was Gable who faced the most serious health issue. 2 days after filming The Misfits, Gable had a heart attack. Rumors about his health had been circulating during the shoot, with many noticing a change in his voice. The insurance company had even required Gable to quit smoking and drinking before they would agree to insure him for the role. Sadly, Gable's health worsened, and he found himself in the hospital. His devoted wife, Kay Williams, stayed by his side. One night after she took a short rest, the doctor woke her up with terrible news. Gable had passed away from a second heart attack. To make things worse, the hospital staff didn't use a defibrillator, which might have saved his life. At the time of Gable's death, Williams was 4 months pregnant with their child. In March 1961, she gave birth to their son, John Clark Gable. However, John wasn't Gable's only biological child. There was a hidden story from Gable's past that would only come out many years later. Gable had an affair with actress Loretta Young.
Well, my mother, Loretta Young, did a film with my father, Clark Gable, called Call of the Wild. And it was the first time that they'd ever done a film together.
Young, a devout Catholic, found herself pregnant with Gable's child.
They went on location. One of the largest snowstorms hit, and the whole company was snowed in. So my mother and father had a very long time to get to know each other and fall in love.
To avoid a scandal, she came up with a plan. She told everyone she was traveling in Europe, then returned to the U.S. pretending to be sick. Young gave birth to their daughter, Judy Lewis, in secret.
Well, the first time I knew who my father was, I was 23, and I was 2 weeks away from being married.
Judy was sent to a Catholic orphanage, and Young eventually adopted her own daughter to keep the truth hidden. It wasn't until 5 years after Gable's death that Young finally told Judy the truth, that she was Gable's daughter.
And Clark Gable, I'm sure he won't mind if I say it, I used to always think of him as my father. I pretended that he was my father. I never pretended anyone was my mother. I don't know why. But I always pretended he was my father.
Even years after his death, He is still described as a man full of charm and personality. Life magazine once said he was all man and then some. This shows how people saw him as strong and handsome. Doris Day, a well-known actress, described Gable perfectly when she said, "He was as masculine as any man I've ever known, and as much a little boy as a grown man could be." This mix of being tough yet playful made him very attractive to women. Many women found Gable's character captivating. Joan Crawford, another famous actress and Gable's close friend, shared her thoughts about him on a TV show in January 1970. She said, "He was a king wherever he went. He earned the title." Crawford admired his confidence and how he carried himself. Gable was not just a star on screen, he was a star in real life too. Robert Taylor, another actor, also praised Gable. He said, "I think that I sincerely doubt that there will ever be another like Clark Gable. He was one of a kind." Gable's unique personality and talent set him apart from other actors. He was special, and many believed no one could replace him. Gable was a loyal friend too. In his book, Bring On the Empty Horses, actor David Niven shared a touching story about Gable. When Niven's first wife, Primula, passed away unexpectedly in 1946, Gable was there for him. Niven wrote about how Gable cried at Primula's feet, showing his deep emotions. This moment revealed a softer side to the tough actor. Gable had once been comforted by Primula after his own wife, Carol Lombard, died 4 years earlier. Gable was known for his strong personality, but he also faced criticism. Some believed he changed movie scripts to fit his image. For example, in the film Run Silent, Run Deep, a screenwriter said Gable refused to let his character sink with a submarine. He wanted to stay the hero and not show weakness. This attitude showed how much Gable cared about his public image. Actor Eli Wallach remembered a time when Gable made changes to a script in The Misfits. Wallach had a strong scene cut from the movie. In that scene, Wallach's character was very sad when he wanted to see Rosalind, played by Marilyn Monroe, but instead found Gable. Gable asked for the scene to be removed because he felt it wasn't right for his character to steal another man's love. This showed that Gable had a code of honor that he followed, even in Hollywood.
So Gable, on behalf of the 20 million fans, I present to you this kingly crown.
Clark was also a conservative Republican. He was part of a group called the Motion Picture Alliance for the Preservation of American Ideals. This group aimed to get rid of communists in Hollywood. Other famous members included Walt Disney, Ronald Reagan, and John Wayne. They played a big role in creating the Hollywood blacklist, which kept some people from getting jobs in the film industry. Gable was also a Freemason, joining the Beverly Hills Lodge in 1933. His image was so popular that cartoonists often made fun of him. Bugs Bunny, the famous cartoon rabbit, had some of Gable's traits, like eating carrots in a funny way. This was inspired by a scene from Gable's film, It Happened One Night, where he eats carrots while talking. Gable had many fans. In 1937, Judy Garland sang a song called You Made Me Love You, which was about her crush on him. The lyrics expressed how much she admired him. He even inspired the name of Superman's alter ego, Clark Kent. Over the years, many actors have played Gable in films and TV shows. For example, James Brolin played him in Gable and Lombard, 1976. More recently, Josh Hartnett portrayed Gable in a comedic show called Drunk History. Gable was honored in 1937 with a block in the forecourt of Grauman's Chinese Theater, showing his importance in Hollywood. Today, his legacy continues through music, movies, and the way he influenced pop culture.